Welcome to our Wednesday roundup of all the main news stories from around Thailand and the region. And there's really only two big stories that we need to cover, although we do have a few other things to speak about as well. They dominated all the Thai media yesterday. The return of Thaksin Shinawatra, the former fugitive Thai Prime Minister, and then of course the election of a new Prime Minister and what that might mean for Thailand in the future. Let's get stuck into it. And Al Jazeera reporting that Thaksin Shinawatra arrested, jailed after return from years-long exile. The former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was swiftly arrested, taken to court and jailed after he landed back home in Thailand. It says Thaksin, who made his fortune in the telecommunications business, boarded a private plane in Singapore, landed at Bangkok's Dum Muang airport shortly after 9 a.m, and Thaksin paid his respects to the King on his arrival and shortly afterwards was taken in a police convoy to the Supreme Court, where he was charged with abuse of power and several other outstanding criminal offences, which he's described as politically motivated. "Welcome back to Thailand, Daddy," said daughter Patongtan Shinawatra on her Instagram page. He was later taken to a Bangkok prison, with the Supreme Court releasing a statement saying he would serve a total of 8 years in jail. Well, let's see how some of the other media have covered this story. Coconuts Bangkok from coconuts.co. After 15 years in self-imposed exile, ex-PM Thaksin jailed upon return. And some nice photos, and probably the only opportunity he'll get in the short term to have photos with his family. After repeated claims he would fly back this year, the 74-year-old, who was ousted by the military in 2006 and convicted in absentia 2 years later for abusing power and malfeasance, made good on his word. Thaksin rose to power in 2001 for his pro-rural populist policies. That's a real tongue twister. Pro-rural populist policies, before the military seized power in a coup that saw him leave the country and live in exile. Nation Thailand reporting that Thaksin's taken to the Bangkok Remand Prison to start serving his jail terms, and the Corrections Department officials delivered Thaksin to prison at 11:20 a.m. after he was taken to the Supreme Court to hear the court's verdicts against him in 3 cases. Prison officials had prepared an area outside the prison for reporters and supporters. As Thaksin was being taken into prison through the front gate, waiting red shirt supporters shouted their support for him in unison. Nation Thailand then goes on to report about his medical condition. Thaksin diagnosed with 4 comorbidities under close watch in prison hospital. The Corrections Department said yesterday afternoon that the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was isolated inside the Bangkok Remand Prison's hospital after doctors diagnosed him with 4 comorbidities. As Thaksin is aged, he turned 74 last month, he will have to be taken good care of so he does not fall ill during his detention, according to the Director General. And he said doctors of the prison hospital found that Thaksin was vulnerable to ill health as he had comorbidities and needed to be continually monitored by doctors. So here's a list of what they declared. Ischemia, a heart condition in which the blood flow is restricted. He's had severe lung infections because of COVID. Although he's been cured, his lungs still have adhesion. Thaksin suffers from hypertension and needs to take medicines regularly because of his blood pressure. And he's been suffering from degenerative spine and herniated discs. Ironically, he will get free medical care in prison. Free medical care, the public health system here in Thailand, was one of the policies that Thaksin introduced during his time as government. Well, that's enough of Thaksin. He will spend X amount of time in prison. Really, what's going to happen, I think a lot of people assume that he may be pardoned. I think other people think that there may be some reduction of sentence that could be announced at some time. But for now, he is languishing in a Thai prison. The other big story yesterday was that Thailand has a new Prime Minister. BangkokPost.com announces PM-elect vows to improve Thais' lives. Yes, he is the Prime Minister-elect until he is appointed officially by His Majesty the King. And there's a photo there of the new Prime Minister of Thailand, Srettha Thavisin. And the Prime Minister-elect Srettha Thavisin said yesterday he was ready to work to his utmost to improve the living conditions of Thai people. He said, "I'm truly honoured to be voted the 30th Prime Minister." Yes, he is the 30th Prime Minister, not the 70th, which I mistakenly said yesterday. I had all sorts of numbers running around my head, so apologies for that. The new Prime Minister went on to say, "I would like to thank all Thai people, coalition parties and all the representatives and senators who voted today. I will do my best, forget tiredness in the past and improve the living conditions of all Thai people." It might have been slightly lost in translation, but the reference to forgetting tiredness in the past, I think, refers to the old days of the red shirts and the yellow shirts, and the fact that these coalition partners were once political foes. He declined to answer other questions, saying it would not be appropriate until his election officially receives royal endorsement. A full press conference would be held then, he said. While he was chatting with reporters, PM Thaksin Shinawatra arrived at party headquarters to congratulate him. The youngest child of the former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was another prime ministerial candidate of Per Thai. So, how did the numbers fall? Well, this reported by Bangkok Post. The joint sitting of the House of Representatives and the Senate yesterday elected Mr. Srettha with 482 votes in favour, 165 votes against and 81 abstentions. We needed the magic 376 votes across the two houses of Parliament. I think with 482 votes, that shows a strong endorsement in Srettha as the new Prime Minister. And most of the votes against came from the Move Forward Party, which won the most seats in the election on May 14, 151 compared with 141 for Per Thai, but it was unable to get its leader Pita Limjaroenrat elected as Prime Minister in Parliament. Now in opposition, Move Forward made clear earlier that it was not voting against Mr. Srettha personally, but against the coalition he heads, which includes two parties linked to the uncles who overthrew a previous Per Thai government in a military coup. Oh, the irony, and how the expediency of politics outweighs any past disagreements. Now, another party that had a really bad day yesterday was the Democrats, who will also be in opposition. And the story says also in opposition is the 25-member Democrat Party, which is currently adrift after two failed attempts to choose a new leader. 16 Democrats voted for Mr. Srettha and 7 abstained in line with the party resolution, and 2 other Democrats voted against the Per Thai nominee. So the Democrat Party, once the governing party in Thailand, in complete disarray at the moment and will be serving in opposition along with the Move Forward Party. But it wasn't just in Parliament they were having a bad day yesterday. Khao English on their Facebook page. The former Democrat Party Deputy Leader Prin Panich was sentenced to 2 years and 8 months without parole for indecency against an 18-year-old female. The 18-year-old was the first woman to report the crime in 2022 after she was harassed in 2021. After that, more young women filed further complaints against Prin. It wasn't just a couple of ladies. I think it ended up over 20 young ladies who were harassed by the former Democrat Party leader. The Bangkok South Criminal Court has had a verdict since August the 10th, but it only announced it yesterday. So the former Democrat leader Prin also serving time behind bars. Also, Khao English reflecting yesterday, Palang Pracharat leader General Prawit Wongsuwon. He's the one that does tend to fall asleep in Parliament and of course has that wonderful collection of luxury watches. Who's the former deputy junta leader and caretaker prime minister, didn't bother to vote for Per Thai PM candidate Srettha Thavisin, despite his party being part of the coalition. So after the Palang Pracharat party agreed to join the coalition, agreed to support the nominee from the Per Thai party, he either fell asleep or had a change of heart. But Srettha Thavisin did not get Prawit Wongsuwon's vote. And moving on to another story from BangkokPost.com, and this is somewhat of an editorial. New government forms, but at what cost, it asks. Thai politics is entering a new chapter as the colour-coded political divide, which has polarised the country for several years, 2 decades, is expected to end after Thai's prime ministerial candidate, Srettha Thavisin, won Parliament's endorsement to become the country's 30th prime minister. After more than a decade of conflict between red shirt and yellow groups, the two opposing camps now appear to have buried the hatchet and joined forces to fight against the Move Forward Party, which is perceived as their main threat, according to observers. And Won Watchit Bunprong, a political science lecturer at the Rangsit University, told the Bangkok Post that ex-Premier Thaksin Shinawatra's homecoming and the alliance between Thai and the UTN and Palang Pracharat had sent a message to political quarters that the two opposing blocs will now unite against the Move Forward Party, which they perceive as their common threat. He went on to say, today's political situation is a little victory for Thaksin, but it comes with a price as Thai now has to grapple with a crisis of faith. And further down he said after the new government is formed, Thai will have to work on winning back the trust of its supporters. So let's try and unpack a little bit of what's happened over the past 24 hours. And certainly in the comments section yesterday, some of you shared your views. But for those people who think there's another coup just around the corner, part of what we saw yesterday was, I think, a way to avoid a coup in the future. By Thai inviting in these two conservative elements, the old uncle parties, it sort of makes the new government coup-proof. I mean, these are the people that did the coup back in 2014, now serving in the coalition. So I predict that we might have a period of quite stable government here in Thailand. Then again, it has been relatively stable since 2014. People may not like the way the government came about, but the Prayut government was at least fairly stable. If not stale, it was stable. So I think we can probably look forward to a period of some stability. We've also got a legislative outline from Thai as to what they're going to do, and some of that would be seen as quite progressive. We've got the prospect in the next couple of months of a Cannabis Act. I think they will wind back the current situation, but there will be a Cannabis Act. And there's also going to be the introduction of same-sex marriage into Thailand. So I think these are quite progressive overtures to what's going to be happening to Thailand in the future. So I do look forward to your comments on what you think is going to be happening with the new Thai government in the comments section below. A big thank you to 5 Star Marine for being our sponsor, of course. If you're heading out onto Pangar Bay and you're looking for a bespoke VIP charter trip, then a 5 Star Marine is the place you need to go. There's a link in the description for a special deal for TNT viewers. Now, it's not just Thailand that got a new Prime Minister yesterday. Cambodia also got a new Prime Minister. Thai PBS World reporting that Cambodian lawmakers elect Hun Sen's son as the next leader. Well, if you can't find anybody else, elect your own son. Cambodia's parliament on Tuesday elected long-time ruler Hun Sen's eldest son as the new Prime Minister, sealing a dynastic handover of power after last month's one-sided polls. I think one-sided polls is being polite. Hun Sen's Cambodian People's Party won all but 5 seats in the lower house in the July election, which was widely decried as a sham after the main opposition party was barred from running. Hun Manet, 45, was elected unanimously at the National Assembly in Phnom Penh yesterday. After the vote, Hun Manet told lawmakers today is a historic day for Cambodia. For one reason or another, days after the July election, Hun Sen, one of the world's longest-serving leaders, announced he was stepping down and handing power to Hun Manet after nearly 4 decades of iron-fisted rule. But as they say, wait, there's more. Hun Manet's new government includes a number of his relatives and several children of Hun Sen's allies in top jobs. Hun Sen's youngest son, Hun Mani, will become the civil service minister, and his nephew, currently the powerful police chief, will be a deputy prime minister. The sons of the current interior and defence ministers will take over their father's posts, according to a draft list of new cabinet members seen by AFP. So laugh at Thailand's politics if you must, but it's a whole lot worse in Cambodia. Going to our next story today, back to the BangkokPost.com, domestic tourism rebounds. And domestic tourism in Thailand's bounced back 93% compared to 2019, the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. The TAT expects domestic tourists will make 160 million trips this year. And a representative of the TAT said the plans will encourage tourists to visit major and minor cities and promote travelling during weekdays. The TAT will also promote traditional culture and local events in order to push Thailand's soft power, leading to sustainable income for locals. So whilst the foreign tourism is languishing at the moment, it looks like the domestic tourism has stepped up in part to keep the hotels operating. And the BangkokPost.com also reporting Ministry says El Niño set to cut rainfall. Well, speaking about the southern part of Thailand anyway, certainly Phuket and Phang have had a lot less rain than we've had in the past. About 16.5 million rai of farmland across the country will be affected by decreased rainfall caused by the El Niño phenomenon this year. It says the Agriculture and Cooperatives Ministry is concerned about the upcoming dry season as El Niño's effects will pick up in November. It says the nation's 35 major reservoirs will hold about 22.8 billion cubic metres of water, and that's about 13 billion cubic metres less than last year. And to prepare for the dry season, authorities have come up with some plans. They're going to promote alternative crops, seek alternative water sources. The ministry will also work with relevant agencies to promote alternative jobs in areas where a second rice crop cannot be planted. And the last measure concerns saving water during the next rainy season. Well, you could argue that they should have been saving water in the last rainy season, but these El Niño phenomenon not necessarily easy to predict. But Thailand looks like it's going to have a little bit of a dry, wet season. We're in the middle of it now, and as I said, in the south, we've had quite a lot less rain than we usually have at this time of the year. And with that, I thank you very much. Hopefully you're more up to date with things happening around Thailand. Please subscribe to the channel if you get an opportunity. I really appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.